says
I consent.
All right. All right, everyone. Welcome to the first video style fantasy football crew podcast. I'm your host, Tony. We're here with Sean and Bobby today. We have some fun topics. It's going to be kind of freestyle. Bob is sideways right now for some reason. But there we go. But yeah, we didn't go over to the topics too much, but I have them here, so we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna go with bold predictions for 2020. Picking someone in the first round that's a reach at the end of the first round, and we'll explain why. Well, I'll explain why that's an important question. And then some who would you rather have? First one's gonna be Hopkins versus Julio Jones. So we'll get right into it. And we'll go with topic number one, bold predictions for the 2021 fantasy football season. And since I've never gone first, I'm going to go first, and then we'll go on from there. So I have three. The first one, I don't know if it'd be considered that bold, but I'm going to go with Miles Sanders is going to finish as a top 5 running back. Last year when he got a lot of work, he was in between weeks 12 and 16 before he got injured. He was running back 4, so he showed what he could do when he has the rock in his hands. So far, they haven't got anyone to really challenge him. I know the narrative is that Doug Peterson always uses a running back by committee, but he hasn't necessarily had a running back that could be as good as Sanders just yet. So if he's able to get the bulk of the carries, I think he could be a top 5 running back. Doesn't good. This next one is going to be
prediction. Bad connection.
What's that?
There's a bold prediction. Tony's connections, Gabriel brothers.
Is it a bad connection?
I think Bob has the bad connection. He's skipping.
Oh, okay.
Did you? I think it's Bob.
You were able to hear me, Sean?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. My next 2 are pretty crazy, but that's why they call them bold. I'm going to say Dwayne Haskins will finish as a top 12 quarterback. He was pretty terrible last year, but this is his second year. He has a new coach, a better coach. He has his favorite weapon, Terry McLaurin. I think he'll get improve in his second year. And in this third bold prediction, I'm not sure if I don't really believe it too much, but there's a part of me that thinks this could be true, is Deontay Johnson will have a better season than Juju. So that one's pretty intense. I just think he could form a nice connection with Ben downfield and kind of be his new AB. So we'll see how that goes this season if Ben could stay healthy. So from you guys, we'll go with Sean first. You have a bold prediction for us?
Well, you kind of stole a little bit of with Dwayne Haskins. I was going to go with that one. So I only really have one, and I don't know how bold it is, but we'll go with it anyway. It's going to be, I think Dalvin Cook holds out for about 6 games for this year, and you see Alex Madison hit 1,000 yards. So
nice.
That's my bold prediction.
Nice. Yeah, he's a great handcuff. He's going super late too, so
he definitely is. I mean, Dalvin Cook, whether he gets a contract or not, has to play this year in order to accrue a season to free agency. So I could see him doing something more like what Melvin Gordon did, where he missed. He misses the first couple games and ends up coming back, and they sort of platoon both.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Madison's super talented, so if he gets the opportunity, he could be a stud. I agree with that one. How about you, Bob?
My prediction is Antonio Brown will be a top 5 receiver this year.
Oh, snap. Even with the looming suspension, you don't think he'll get hit too hard?
No, I don't think you're going to suspend him at all. They basically suspended him a whole season last year.
You have any predictions where he's going to go?
Seattle or Tampa Bay.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
No, based off of Bob saying that, I got a second prediction now.
Go ahead.
My other bold prediction is going to be that Colin Kaepernick signs before Antonio Brown does.
Man, look at that. Bucks came out today and said they weren't interested even after the rumors. But
Yeah.
I think Seattle.
I think Seattle's the spot for Antonio, but I don't see it happening until closer to the beginning of the season. If he signs there, that's the only team I see it happening to. The Ravens were in there too, but the Ravens have so many young receivers. I don't see them bringing him in. They already tried with Josh Gordon, and that didn't work. But I think, especially with Russell Wilson, kind of saying he wants him there, I think that's going to be more of a landing spot for Antonio Brown.
Yeah, if they do bring him in, I hope they let Russell air it out a bit too. Let him get those numbers up. Russ could finish as the top quarterback again. He did a few years ago, but he has he's shown it year in and year out, but they just run a lot. All right. We'll move right along then. So I gave you guys a list a while back, but I don't know if you remember it or not. But so a lot of people, not a lot of people, most people will go with whoever's available, like the best available pick at the end of the first round based on rankings and whatnot. But, some people like to reach for potential. Like last year, if someone would have took Cook or Michael Thomas over Juju or Connor in the first round, it would have worked out pretty well.
Or Lamar
Miller, of course, Bob's favorite player. So I know both of you guys probably just go for the best available, but if you had to reach and pick who could be this year's Dalvin Cook or Michael Thomas, whose ADP is in the second round, who would you go with? We'll go with Bob first.
I forgot the list, to be quite honest with you. But someone in the second round that, like you mentioned, Miles Sanders. If he's going in the late first round, I'd much rather reach and take Travis Kelce instead.
Okay, so
I'd rather have a Travis Kelce or even an Odell Beckham at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, either those are Kelsey's a safe bet. Odell, he's a nice bounce back candidate this year. Sean,
Lamar Miller.
Lamar Miller. How about you, Sean?
Well, this might be kind of a no-brainer, but I think Josh Jacobs is kind of the guy in the second round.
That was one of mine.
He had a great rookie year. They did bring in Lynn Bowden, but I think that's just gonna kind of be more of like a Jalen Richard type of player. You didn't really get to see Josh Jacobs, really do a lot in the receiving game, and he has a really good repertoire in catching passes and stuff like that. So I think you're going to see them utilize him a little bit more. They have more receivers to throw to now that the AB fiasco is out of the way. I think their offense could be a lot better, and I think you could see them utilize Josh Jacobs a little bit more in the receiving game and see him finish in the top 5 and for running backs this year.
Yeah, it's funny. Just recently, some of the expert drafts, Josh Jacobs is going early as 7, which is pretty wild. But some people like that upside, like you said. For me, I kind of had 5, but I'll go with 3 main ones. The first one would be Sanders, because to go with my hot take earlier, I believe in his potential. If I would take a flyer on him on the first, and it turns out well, I'd be really happy. I might reach for Eckler, considering what he did last year when he was the main back. And I know they brought in Joshua Kelly and have Justin Jackson there, which is troubling. But if they do go ahead and say, hey, give him the most amount of work. He showed what he could do, how explosive he could be. He finished as number 4 running back last year. So that's pretty good. And then, like Sean said, Josh Jacobs, he's shown potential. Nick Chubb has shown that potential, but he has to split He has to split duty, so that's why people shy away from him in the first. Now, if Kareem Hunt wasn't there, he would probably be a first-round draft pick all the way. And then the last one, I'm going to go with Kenyon Drake, which is he showed how explosive he could be at the end of last year with the Cardinals. But, of course, he has a track record of not doing that. So people question him, like, if he could keep that up. So those are my kind of 5 that I'd be okay with reaching for at the end.
It seems like the only.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like the only 2 years that where he actually had production were like the last 5 to 6 games of the year. So I think a lot of people are skeptical if he could do it over like a full year, and if he can do it consistently. Because he's had a couple like bust years in between those 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So
that's why he's
in that offense. I think for that, so we'll see if he can do it though.
Yeah, he has a lot of up and down games. All right, so we'll move on to the last topic here. Gonna be a quick podcast this time, but so we're gonna do a little who would you rather have. So the first one is Hopkins versus Julio Jones. Of course, Hopkins is moving into the new situation with Kyler Murray. Julio getting older, but he's still an elite talent. Who would you guys rather have? We'll go with Sean first.
I always hate a player going from one offense to another because you never know what exactly to expect. But I have to go with DeAndre Hopkins. He's played. He's better. He's better in the red zone. He gets a lot more touchdowns. I think that they're going to utilize him a lot in Arizona. They're going to pass a lot with them. Playing that air raid offense. So, and Julio's not a big touchdown guy. He only had like 1 year where he had, a lot of touchdowns. So I would probably have to stick with DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. How about you, Bob?
I mean, I don't think Julio's going to play bad by any means, but I mean, Hopkins has never really played with outside of the years with Texas Watson in Houston. I mean, he had some really bad quarterbacks that he was able to still play well with. And I mean, it's a pass-first offense. It's not like he's going there and being the only guy. They still have Fitzgerald. They still have Kirk. What's his name? Kenyon Drake coming out of the backfield. So he's not going to draw as – it's going to be tougher to double-team him there. And Murray's a lot more confident than most quarterbacks, so I think he's going to have a big year.
Yeah. So for me, this is tough, but I'm gonna go with Julio Jones, just because Hopkins. One of the reasons he dominated so much is because he had so much of the target share, and he's an awesome player, of course. Moving into the new offense, though, I don't know if he'll have that dominant target share, but they're probably going to pass more. So I think either way, you can't go wrong. Like you guys said, they're both extremely talented. I like Jones to have one more big season before his fall off here and get a little more touchdowns this year, hopefully.
That's the big key, I think, is the touchdown.
Yeah.
Julio has put up a decent amount of touchdowns. I think he could definitely be better, but he just never usually does.
Yeah.
I don't know why. You think they would. He's so tall and big, you'd think they would use him in the red zone.
Oh, I know. It's an easy target. All right, for this next one, let me see here real quick. Give me a second. Where is he at? Okay. So we're going to do Juju versus Allen Robinson. And this one might seem easy. You might go with Juju because of, the talent and what he did 2 years ago with Ben. But last year, Robinson finished wide receiver number 8 in PPR. And he's getting what should be an upgrade in Nick Foles. They didn't really add too many threats in the wide receiver realm besides Ted Ginn, but he's not normally a high target guy. Who would you guys rather take? We'll go with Bob first here.
It's tough because you've never seen Juju, be it was only one season, play well without Antonio Brown. You don't know if Johnson's going to be somebody that can help take away coverage from him. I personally am not a big Allen Robinson fan. I mean, he's not pretty, but I mean, he does, get a lot of targets. But I'm not all that sure that Nick Foles is going to beat out
Mitch
Trubisky. Yeah, I don't.
He's only really been good
in the
2
Super Bowl.
times in his whole career. He's had 2 good years, and even then, the year they went to the Super Bowl and won, the defense had a lot to do with it. There was a lot of luck involved in that year. Yeah. And I mean, how many times he bounced around? He's been in St. Louis. He's been in Kansas City. He wasn't looking. I mean, he couldn't get his job back from Gardner Minshew. So.
Hey, Gardner, he's the GOAT, bro.
It's tough because I don't think Trubisky's terrible. I think it just happens that he got picked before 2 studs that really make him seem a lot worse. And he's not. But you know what? I'm going to go with Allen Robinson, even though no Yinzer.
How about you, Sean?
I was real big on Allen Robinson when he first came out, Penn State guy. So obviously I love him. And when he broke out with Jacksonville and then he got hurt, he kind of like became like an afterthought for a little bit. And then, especially with the Bears, their offenses were always like, So, but he's been quietly putting up some pretty decent numbers. So, and like Bob said with Juju, I mean, you never really seen Juju do it without Antonio Brown on the opposite side. Like the games where Antonio Brown wasn't there, and then part of the game, I know Ben only played 2 games last year, and then there was only the game, in 2018 when Antonio Brown didn't show up. But I gotta see Juju do it, without Antonio Brown. I think he'll have a better chance of doing it this year, but I know what I do have in Allen Robinson, so I would take Allen Robinson as well.
And part of me thinks he may just be a good, like, a number 2 guy. He's not really that. He's not going to be that guy. He's not going to be a Julio.
Exactly, and there's nothing wrong with that.
He's a 1,000-yard
right.
guy.
He's never going to be
He's
going to always be a runner. He may never be a back.
More like a Jarvis Landry. He's more like Jarvis Landry's a stud, but he's better served as a Robin. Like
it's a second receiver.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go opposite of you guys for Yinzer effect. I'm gonna pick Juju for the upside. I think we kind of have seen. I think Robinson will be good again, but I think Juju could either ascend past Robinson, or he could be like another like mid-road, like you guys said, like middle of the road type of guy. But I'm gonna go to draft him for hope for the upside. He let me down last year, let everyone down last year, but I believe he could have a bounce back year this year. So let's go next one. All right, we got Josh Allen or Breeze or Brady. Would you rather go with one of the old guys or go with the young Josh Allen who runs a little bit more? We'll go with Sean first.
Oh, that's tough. You got Tom Brady down there with all of those weapons.
Yeah.
Drew Brees still seems to keep doing it, but then you got Josh Allen. I'm gonna go off on a limb here. I'm gonna go with Josh Allen, and I think I'm gonna take. Yeah, and mainly because of his running ability. He's proven, that he can play in this league. I think he's played really well. But his running ability kind of like sets him apart from the other 2 guys, I think.
Right.
If he starts throwing the ball a little bit more deeper, I think you'll see him take another step this year. And with him having Stephon Diggs, I think the passing game will grow a little bit. And with that and the rushing attack, I'd have to go with Josh Allen.
And something else to consider, though, is Josh Allen's going about 73rd overall, and Breeze is going 87. Tom Brady's going 105. So you have to spend.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Where
Yeah,
they're going.
you'd have to spend a little more draft
part.
capital on Josh Allen.
Yeah, fill me in on that part before I
answer. Sorry, I just looked it up right now.
You said which one do I want? You didn't tell me about the round.
Draft pick consideration. Would you change your pick?
Yeah, 70 is kind of high for a quarterback. That's gonna be probably 6th round, I would say.
Yeah,
I don't like to take quarterbacks that early. Yeah. I like to wait a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, in that case, I probably would lean towards Tom Brady, especially in that offense with Bruce Arians, where they just throw it nonstop.
Yeah.
For fantasy purposes, I mean, you can't. There's no that offense will definitely get you some fantasy points.
Yeah. How about you, Bob?
Now that I know the draft order, I mean, obviously, I always like to wait on a quarterback, so I would be perfectly fine with getting Tom Brady there, anyways. But you have to, in my opinion, the floor is Josh Allen because of his legs.
Right.
I would have to say Breeze is my. I think he has a good, decent floor also, because I feel like even last year it wasn't all that great with the injuries, and he didn't throw as much, but he was still pretty darn accurate. But for the sake of like drafting them, I'd have to take Tom Brady 30 picks after Josh Allen, who I've gone with as my quarterback the past 2 years in all of my leagues, but I don't want to pay up for him now.
You have to get Dalton just in case. The Red Rocket, bro. He'll take over eventually.
I'll still get Dalton.
So yeah, I would take Tom Brady late and then swing back around and get a younger guy, like a Minshew or like a Burrow, just to put on my bench in case Brady falls off a cliff. Hopefully, one of those two guys, or another young guy, like a Haskins, maybe show some potential, and I have him on my bench just in case. So that's kind of the route I would go. Or Dalton, because we all know he's going to take over. He knows what he's doing out there. All right, so let me see. Really? So this one, I think I know both of you guys' answer. We talked about both of them before on the podcast. Mostert versus Connor. I think they're both going around the same, around like the 5th round, 4th round. Who would you guys rather have? We'll go Bob real quick.
With Ben back, I'd rather Connor. Seems like he's gonna have the Mostert. There's still a lot of backs, even though they got rid of Texas name Breida. They still, he's never really done it like we always say over a full season. So that kind of Connor. I mean, it's injury. It's not lack of skill. So he's got to hope that maybe this year he packed on a little more muscle and is ready to go.
Yeah.
L2 pick.
How about you, Sean?
Yeah, I gotta go James Conner here. James Conner's been working out like crazy. I'm sure you've seen some of his videos, some of the stuff he's doing. I just think he's motivated more than ever, and he's one guy I don't think I ever want to bet against when he's motivated. He's proven time and time again that he can bounce back from things. So I would definitely take Connor. Mostert, still he had a decent stretch at the end of the year. Obviously, he's still unproven to me. McKinnon's coming back. I still think they really are high on McKinnon. McKinnon's a guy that can line up, in the slot at receiver or in the backfield. I still think they're going to deploy them. Plus, they have Tevin Coleman. They're going to use all three of those backs. So, with Ben back and with a motivated Connor, I can see Connor having a big bounce back year.
And I'm pretty sure I read that Tomlin said that he's not looking for a committee.
He did say that. Yeah, I'd go with Connor too.
He's very bullish on one.
Yeah, I go with Connor too. Like you guys said, he has a more clear-cut path to being the workhorse. He's shown what he could do before, like you guys said as well. Ben's back this year. I love both candidates since they're going so late as kind of like steals. If they are workhorses and they could stay healthy, they could blow away their ADP. So I really like targeting them late as like a second or third running back. So we just got a couple more here. Let me see their ADP first before I ask you this one. Oh my gosh. All right, do you guys have a preference between Kelsey or Kittle, or would you rather just whoever falls to you if you're gonna pick a tight end that early? We'll go with Sean first.
I don't really have a preference between the two because I think they both are two of the best tight ends in the league.
Yeah.
So I mean, if let's just say, for instance, in the third round, they're both available, and I want to take one of them as my tight end. I think push comes to shove, I probably would take Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have no problem taking Kittle either. They're both from the same mold, in my opinion.
Yeah. They're both great, and most Kelsey's in the better offense. He's been a better tight end, but he's older, so that'd be the only argument against him if someone thinks he's gonna fall off. But he showed no signs of slowing down last year, so I really don't think you go wrong with either one. Do you have a preference, Bob?
If we're all like he said, if we're like at this point, they're both there, and you're content with you're deciding that's what you want to do, take a tight end there. I mean, I would have to, for a lot of things we talked about, all the running backs out in San Francisco lead me to believe that running's still a priority out there for throwing. And you got Garoppolo versus Mahomes, so you got to lean towards Kelsey for that respect. But they still don't have a lot of receivers out in San Francisco, so there's still a lot of targets up for grabs. I don't think you can go wrong, but if I had to, for the sake of this, to be different, I'll go with Kittle. Even though I just argued I gave all those points to Kelsey. But I'm going against the grain and taking Kittle.
Yeah.
Also a big wrestling fan.
Did you still hear me? Did you hear me? You guys there?
I can hear you.
I can hear you now.
Okay,
You're talking to me.
Sorry, my
Yes,
computer.
I can hear you.
My computer fell off. It shut off. All right. So I've two or three more. We'll just do these real quick. This one's probably real easy. Chubb versus Henry. You guys would rather have Henry, right?
It's not. I mean, that's not a guarantee. Chubb. I mean, he was right up there to lead the league in rushing.
He was,
I believe, last year. He was second.
Correct. Yeah, he was leading it until I think he missed a game or two in any.
Well, I mean, I believe Henry had a big last game. He won whatever it was. He sealed whatever their spot in the playoffs with the run and took over the rushing title. But if you look back at his rookie year, he probably would have got 1,000, but he didn't become the full-time back. Correct?
Yeah, until 4 or 5 games in.
Where do I have?
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 games in after Carlos Hyde just plotted his way the first 4 weeks.
Uh-oh. Still there, Bob? Uh-oh. Could you hear Bob? Sean?
I'm here. I can hear you.
Could you hear?
I don't see you, but I hear you.
Oh, could you hear Bob or no?
I can't hear Bob at all.
Okay.
I heard him and then he cut out. I don't hear him at all now.
Yeah, I don't hear him.
I guess we're talking about. When you asked the question, I heard it was Chubb and
yeah,
Henry.
Chubb and Henry. Do you have a favorite out of those two?
Well, until we get Bob back, I'll go ahead and answer that. I would have to go with Chubb. I think Henry had a huge year last year, but I think that's kind of like the ceiling. I think he's going to come a little bit further back down to earth. Plus him being on a franchise tag. I don't know. I like what Chubb can do. Now, neither one of them are really very, do much in the passing game, but I like the upside still with Chubb. I still think he has a couple more big years left in him before he's kind of levels out.
Yeah, and I like Chubb due to the ADP too. A lot of drafts, Henry's going in the first. Even I've seen him go 6th, 7th overall, and I'm not willing to spend that on Henry. So I'd rather swing back around and get Chubb in the early second if I'm able to. Let's see here.
Yeah, if you have a chance to get somebody who's going to give you basically the same kind of numbers around later, then you're going to take that guy, and that's what you're going to get with Chubb. So I'd take Chubb.
Exactly. So let's see.
Bob, are you back?
Oh, Bob's back.
I don't know if he is. I don't see him.
He came back for a second.
Bob.
Yeah. Bob, let me see.
Oh no, Bob. Man down.
All right, everyone. Sorry about that. We all got cut off here, but we're back at it real quick, and we'll finish up with the last question. We pretty much agreed last time if Chubb's going in the second round and Henry's going in the first, we'd rather have Chubb, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Similar kind of player. You get him around later, go with that. So last question here. We got Lockett versus Odell. Who would you rather have?
Odell.
Hands down?
I mean, do you have the numbers on him? But
yes. Yeah, give me 1 second. So Odell's going around 29th overall, and Lockett's going 50th overall.
Well, obviously Odell has a much higher ceiling.
Right.
Depending on, Lockett, them 20 picks is a bit. I'd have to know my team again. That I know it's like a really silly answer. It's not really going around the question, but like if I've gotten 29th, what would that be? Like the end of the third round. If I went running back, I wouldn't mind getting Odell. Having Odell number one receiver, and I've gotten two real good running back. I think I'm in good position, but I'll go with Beckham.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Beckham too. I like him as a bounce back candidate. Tyler Lockett was 13th overall in PPR last year. He finished wide receiver 13, but he got injured. I forget what week it was, but he really fell off after that from like weeks 1 to 12 or 1 to 13 or so. Let me see where he was here. Where's Lockett? I just know Lockett was in the top 4 like the first 10 weeks or so, but then he fell off after he got that injury. But he was number 5 from weeks 1 to 10. But I like Odell as a bounce back candidate. Like you said, he has a higher upside. If
you have to worry that Metcalf has a bigger role.
Yeah.
Do they continue to run the ball even more? And do they sign Antonio Brown? And then now all of a sudden Lockett. I mean, well, that could also help Lockett, and he could be getting a lot less coverage. But AB will probably command a lot of attention.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we said this a couple podcasts ago, but I think Lockett, that was his ceiling last year. I don't think he's gonna have a better year than that. Where Odell, I think he's a stud, and I think he can match or at least get around what he used to be ceiling wise. So final thought here. What are your thoughts on Hayden Hurst? Do you like him as a late round sleeper?
He plays for Atlanta now, correct?
Atlanta, yeah. Kind of took over for Austin Hooper.
Because it seems, I mean, over the years, I'm always big on finding a late round tight end.
Yeah.
Like Jacob Tamme. I mean, he's not all that great, but he had a few when he was the guy for Matt Ryan. I believe Hooper eventually usurped him for the role, but like for those 5 weeks that Jacob Tamme was the number one guy, he was putting up good numbers.
Yeah.
Hooper, good numbers. Tony Gonzalez, good numbers. So Matt Ryan likes to throw to the tight end. And Hayden Hurst is, he has the pedigree to be.
Yeah.
Just like one of those guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like him too. He's one of my favorite late round. If I don't get one of the stud ones, I don't know if I'm really planning on getting either Kelsey or Kittle, but I'll wait around for someone like Hurst and then get a second guy just in case Hurst doesn't work out. Like you said, I like his potential in Atlanta there. That's about it. Any final thoughts on any of the topics?
Nothing for me.
No.
The question is, where's Sean?
Where's Sean? Sean's lost in the abyss. I think his phone died and he just went to sleep. But hopefully he's all right. We'll get contact with him here soon. Thank you everyone for listening. For Bob, Sean, and myself, thank you guys. Tune in next week. We'll get some more topics here. And thank you and good night.